Hello everyone, welcome to the first of a 5-part video series all about the Intrapreneurship Lifecycle, which funnily enough has 5 phases to it: convince, create, construct, commit, control. This video is all about the first phase, convince. Convince is the very first and initial part of constructing an intrapreneurship program, and it really focuses on the creation of a narrative. Now, narrative is incredibly important for the entrepreneurology, the science of building an entrepreneurship program, because if the narrative is wrong, it can either downplay how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur or social entrepreneur, or make it sound so difficult that no one wants to get involved. It's also important, as much as possible within building this narrative, to have case studies which humanize the journey and humanize the role of entrepreneurs. That's vitally important because ultimately entrepreneurship is a very human focused journey. It's very much a people focused innovation rather than purely product focused. It's a process rather than an output alone. The other thing that's important with narrative is to make sure that the entrepreneur is thought of as that human agent, because actually, if the narrative is wrong, then the research that I've recently conducted shows that there are significant negative impacts on employee engagement and mental health. So never overpromise and ultimately underdeliver when it comes to the creation of an entrepreneurship narrative. The other thing that tends to happen in the convince phase is purely what it says on the tin, convincing. You need to convince entrepreneurs and excite people to get involved with the program. This tends to involve bringing in experienced entrepreneurs, either from, or ideally internal environment, but if not externally, which obviously is one of the services that the Circle can provide, to really inspire people, talk about the journey, what they found hard, but also what they discovered through it, how they grew as a person, and the impact their products have had on the world and the organization they're in. That's super important. Again, back to this point around humanizing entrepreneurship, humanizing innovation, making it people focused, not product focused purely. This tends to follow a pattern of an intense scoping phase, where you work with the sponsor of the entrepreneurship program to work out specifically what the narrative is going to be, but also specifically what the parameters of the program are going to be, i.e. is it a social entrepreneurship program? Is it not? Is it focused on particular problem statements? Is it more open than that? Are you going to have a spin-out mechanism at the end of it? Or is it just going to be things that fit with the existing business model? All of that can be decided, fed into the narrative. The narrative is launched, usually over a period of time. An initial front on what is entrepreneurship, why is it exciting, why are we investing in it? Secondly, those case studies, and then thirdly, details of the program and so forth. And I've always seen this working best if there's a bit of a cadence over time, and that cadence increases, and you use mixed media, not just your emails, but a mixture of video content, audio content, your podcasts, all that sort of jazz, and drip feed that over time by increasing the cadence and build that excitement. Don't necessarily give away all the details of the program in advance. Just let people know that something is coming, and then launching it. As per any kind of good marketing campaign. The great reveal, I guess, is at the end when the excitement is at its peak. The other thing to do in the convince phase really is not just convince the entrepreneurs themselves, but run out a training program in the background for senior leaders so that they understand the real benefit of entrepreneurship to an organization, so that when someone walks into their office and says, "Hey, I'm an entrepreneur, can I have some of your time, some of your resources, whatever," they know that actually the intrinsic value of that to the organization is much wider than supporting that individual alone. It plugs into a bigger picture, the business case around cultural transformation, talent development, talent retention, change in such a way that the organization democratizes innovation and therefore is more responsive to external stimuli, more responsive to crises in the world, more responsive, and also more productive when it comes to innovation. And that obviously is very important and very key for all organizations, particularly established corporate organizations today, is to be able to respond quickly to disruption, and to move themselves a bit further forward from not just being disrupted, but actually being a disruptor themselves. So that's the convince phase. Build your narrative, launch it effectively, train your senior leaders in the background so that they understand what entrepreneurship means and the value that it has to the organization. I'll be back soon with part 2 on the create phase. Thank you very much.